Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway, and in this episode, I will be covering Lombardia Trophy 2024. We've had a few challengers so far this season, like Cranberry Cup and a John Nix Pierce Challenge and Lake Placid Ice Dance International. But once Lombardia kicks off, you know the ice skating season has really begun, and we had some really big names going head to head in some of the disciplines this week. So let's get started. I'll start with the dance event because I think of the four disciplines, this one definitely had the least amount of big names in it. No shortage of drama, though. The winners here were Charlene Guidard and Marco Fabri of Italy, debuting their two new programs. The rhythm dance is very campy, kind of like last year's was very campy. And so they've gone back to that again this season, which I think is totally fine. They are skating to Stevie Wonder and a bit of different mix of music. They're not doing disco, so I'm very glad of that. Some really nice moments in this routine. That first set of twizzles were just so crisp. They have like this nice kind of slide on the ice, kind of a la Piper and Paul in their midline step, like Piper and Paul did last season. I find the first couple of pieces of music to be a little bit annoying. I think when the time the Stevie Wonder and You Make Me Feel kicks in, that's the best part, but it's very short and then it's kind of over. So I haven't seen enough rhythm dances yet this season to sort of decide if this is good or not. But as always, they were very technically strong, looked like they were having a lot of fun. And I think it was an enjoyable rhythm dance. How it will stack up with Piper and Paul and Madison and Evan, we don't know yet. We have yet to see their new programs, but I think it was a good first outing for this particular routine for them. The free dance is definitely the program that has been getting the most attention, largely because of their costumes, which the best way that I could describe it would be they look like R2D2, basically, except in silver. It's obviously some kind of robot theme, as they use lots of different robot arms throughout the program. In the last three seasons, frankly, they have given us a lot of range. They had, more of a contemporary piece last season, and they had this sort of very dark and dramatic piece two seasons before that. And so who knows what they're going to do next season, but they are able to really mold themselves into whatever genre that they have immersed themselves in that season. And I love that they just don't go to the same well all the time like we see with a lot of ice dance teams. They sort of get in a comfort zone and sort of stay there. And Charlene and Marco are constantly challenging themselves and bringing something different to the table. So in this particular program, they've got this really cool spinning lift to start. They've got this really pretty sweet overhead lift. And remember, in ice dance, you can have an overhead lift, but the guy's arms have to stay bent. Their character step is basically kind of like a hip hop section, which cool. I mean, I liked it. So they doing the same like choreographic lift. It's basically a stationary lift at the end of their program that they did last season. It was a real wow moment last season. I think it is equally as strong here, except they don't have to worry about her skirt getting caught on the end of anybody's skate this year because she's in a jumpsuit. So I'm very interested to see how this program stacks against some of the top four teams, right? Not just Maddie and Evan and Piper and Paul, but also Fear and Gibson. So, but it certainly was a very interesting first outing. I think that they really nailed it. They always come out really strong. And the question is if they can just keep up that all season. Here we are less than 2 years out from what will be a home Olympics for them. And I really appreciate that they keep pushing themselves. All right. The number two team here was the new U.S. dance team of Annabelle Morozov and Jeffrey Chin. So these two have both been doing a lot of partner swapping the last few seasons. So if we start with Jeffrey first, if you remember just 2 seasons ago, he was paired with Katarina Wolf-Costin. They were very strong in the Junior Grand Prix, debuted in seniors, and had a lot of mistakes, a lot of falls, and ultimately after nationals, Jeffrey decided to end the partnership. And then last season, he ended up with Yohel Peterson and he competed in juniors, which felt like a bit of a step down. It was kind of strange. And then with the age rules at the time, he was going to age out of juniors. They did end up increasing the age to 23, I believe. So he would have been able to do juniors another year, but ultimately he ended up ending that partnership as well. He actually had a tryout with Lorraine McNamara, who ended her partnership with Anton Spiridonov last December. That obviously didn't work out. And then in May, word was that he was going to team up with Annabelle Morozov. Annabelle Morozov is a U.S. citizen. She was born in the States. She is the daughter of famed choreographer Nikolai Morozov. She also has citizenship for France, my understanding. So, but she competed for France and the US as a single skater, but ultimately she is most famous for competing for Russia as an ice dancer. So she competed with Andre Bagin from 2017 to 2022, and then they split up. And then in 2022 to 23, she competed domestically with David Narizi. It's the best I can say. I'm not exactly sure if that's exactly how you pronounce his name. And then they split up, and then last season, she was paired up with Igor Eremenko. And so now she's with Jeffrey. So this will be her fourth partner in 4 years. And Jeffrey is on his third partner in 3 years. So this is wild, but here they are. And they have gelled together really pretty well. They are training at META, which is the Michigan Ice Dance Academy under Charlie White, Tanith White, and Greg Zerlin, which means they are training with Katarina Wolf-Kostin and Dmitry Serovetsky. You can't make this stuff up. Drama and ice dance just never disappoints. So here they are. And after this performance, you can add them to the very crowded U.S. ice dance scene, because whereas they came out at Lake Placid and they were ninth behind a whole lot of American dance teams, they came out here and were the leading American dance team. At Lake Placid, they were 20 points behind Nisette and Markaloff, and here they beat them. So let's get into their programs. Rhythm dance, they were dancing to James Brown. Get up off of that thing. They end with Shout. I think it's very smart music choices here. Again, avoiding the disco, doing some really fun music that the crowd can get into, that's easy for them to get into. I think their facial expressions are a bit much. I can't decide if I like his costume or not. I don't know if I like the gold vest or not. She looks fabulous. But them two together, they've got really great performance ability. I wasn't really blown away with their levels, but frankly, they had the second best technical score in the rhythm dance. And they got above 70, which is a really great benchmark for a new team. In the free dance, they're using Star Wars, which again is very smart music to use, music that the crowd can get into, that they're familiar with. They even have a little bit of Darth Vader theme in there. And frankly, I was really impressed with them here. They had a really cool stationary lift to start with her foot on his foot. Their 1 foot turn sequence was very unique because he starts out kind of mirroring her for part of it. They really show off her flexibility very nice at times. I think that overall this could be a very good vehicle for them. They have a stunning lift at the end of the program. It was a really long wait for their scores, which is never a good sign. So they ended up with the exclamation point on their character step, which usually means either they were too far apart at some point or they didn't cover enough space. I looked at it a couple of different times. It looked to me like they certainly got from one axis to the other. So perhaps it's the too far apart thing. Something that usually, if you're going to get that, you want to get it early in the season so you can clean those things up. So that cost them probably about 3 points. And they ended up with 106, which means that they've got potential to go 110, which is another really good benchmark for a new team and puts them very close to what we're seeing the Browns get or Peyton Bye get. And so, and they came in really just with a lot of confidence just from the get-go in the rhythm dance, which I thought was really impressive. So they don't currently have any other international assignments. They are hoping to get another challenger, but nothing obviously is scheduled. So they're probably going to have to do the typical, well, I don't know. If they get another challenger, they'll probably will get a bye to nationals. If not, they'll have to go through the qualifying process. So, but we'll definitely see them at nationals and see how they rank with some of these other teams. But as far as an international, debut, I think probably could not have asked for a better debut. They certainly weren't going to beat Marco and Fabri, so second place is excellent for them in getting a win over their American teammates. So Leah Nisset and Artem Markolov were in a third here, and they are making the jump from juniors to seniors. They had a lot of success at the junior level at the U.S. juniors, and they won 3 junior titles in a row, and then they won everything in juniors last season. Grand Prix final, Junior Worlds, and so there's really nothing left for them in juniors, even though they're still age eligible for juniors. Here they are in the seniors. So Leah is gone blonder this year, and in my opinion, a little too blonde. Their rhythm dancer using selections from ABBA, including Dancing Queen. She's definitely rocking the flower girl look. She got the headband around her forehead. They have some nice moments in here. Like I love their rotational lift that they have in a full split. And I think it's a cute routine. It feels a little cliche to me. You can definitely see some parts where it's a little rough around the edges, like just them getting into the ending pose was a little rough. But I don't think it's super memorable. I do think it's fun. It'll be interesting to see how this progresses over the course of the season. In their free dance, they were skating to My Love Will Never Die by AG and Claire Wyndham, and then Gloria Regali by Tommy Profit. It's very dramatic music, but unfortunately for them, they had a problem just right off the bat in their 1-foot turn sequence. He fell out of the twizzles at the end of that sequence, and so they ended up with a negative GOE. And so that ended up, they were about 8 points below what they got at Lake Placid. Now, again, it's difficult to compare scores from competition to competition because it's just going to fluctuate somewhat. But that is a pretty big difference between the two. They, again, have a very cool stationary lift here where she is upside down. I think their character step actually really seems to fit the program. I think they've got just some really cool lifts. You can definitely see that they are slower than a lot of the other teams here. And they were definitely disappointed to get the 104 and to go down a spot because they were second after the rhythm dance coming into the free dance. And ultimately they ended up fourth after in the free dance to finish third overall. And I'm sure they weren't too thrilled to lose to their American teammates. But still, I think it's a very good outing for them to get on the podium at an international event. In fourth place here was Natasha Legault and Arnaud Kaffa from France. And this is a team that we have seen just a couple of times on the Grand Prix. They were at ESPA in 2022, and last year they were at Grand Prix France. They have really improved. You can really see the Maurizio Margalio really working with his team. They're covering the ice so much better, and I can see where they have added some difficulty to some of their elements as well. They were also using ABBA in their rhythm dance and also Earth, Wind, and Fire. I just found their routine to be really fun. He's very tall, and at times he can be a little stiff, but he can like get down and bend those knees when he needs to. I just feel like they just needed a disco ball, like they were ready for Studio 54. Just found it super fun. In the free dance, at times he does just kind of like function as a forklift, just like, bend, lift her up. Okay, lift her up again. I would love to see more flow coming in and out of their lifts because it's not their best element. Even though the lifts themselves are very nice, just the entry and the exits to me could use some work. They could also use some more speed, but they have really nice positions. They have better flow than what they've had in the past. I think that overall, this program is very well choreographed. It's very enjoyable, and they had a personal best. And so it's a great finish for them to get, third in the free dance and ultimately just be right off the podium. And then in fifth place here, the last team I'll talk about is, depending on who you ask, either Caroline or Caroline. Sue Suisse and Shane Ferris, who are, of course, are representing Ireland now, previously represented Canada. I was so confused in the Kiss and Cry because they were there with like Barbara Fusipoli, and I'm like, did they leave Caroline? No, they're, as far as I know, they're still being coached by Caroline. I guess she just wasn't there, and maybe Barbara was sitting in for them. I don't know. It threw me off there for a second. But in the rhythm dance, they were also using James Brown, far less successfully, in my opinion, than Morozov and Chin. I feel like their pattern step just kind of drags, and it's just, to me, not very memorable, except maybe for his really loud blue suit. And then in the free dance, their skating to It Had to Be You, which is very classical and very dull. It's just not, to me, the best showcase of their talents. It just seems a bit slow and it seems a bit simple. And even at the end, like they end with a kiss, and I'm like, I don't feel like the storytelling was there to even warrant that. They were only 6 in the free, so not a great reaction from the judges here. And they got pretty low levels on some of their elements, like their 1-foot turns and their midline step. And so, probably not exactly what they were hoping for here. I'm sure looking at the roster, they were hoping to get on the podium or pretty close to the podium. They were 4th after the rhythm dance, but just 6th after the free dance put them in 5th overall. So, all right, those are the 5 teams I'm going to talk about in ice dance. Let's move on to pairs. So, a lot of big name teams here. Winners here were Sarah Conti and Niccolo Mischi of Italy, and wow, do they look like they are back. This is a team that struggled so much last season. They came in with a lot of expectations, coming in as the reigning world bronze medalist. Alexa and Brandon had moved on. Mira and Kihara were going to miss the Grand Prix due to injury, and so they were the team that was kind of supposed to be it. And outside of last year's Grand Prix final, we really just did not see them at their best. And they definitely admitted that pressure really got to them a lot last season. Probably the biggest disappointment for me in skating last year was the fact that the Italians did not qualify enough spots to get 3 spots for those pair teams. And so, yet again, we have only 2 pair teams that are going to be going to Worlds this season. And if this year is anything like last year, we have 3 really good Italian pair teams that we've got to pick from. And I'm sure Team Italy is going to want 3 pair teams to be at the Olympics next year. And so the race to those 2 spots has started right now. And here Sarah and Niccolo start with a big statement very early on. They came out in the short program skating to Carmen, and as soon as I heard the first beat of the music, I was like, oh, gotta be kidding me. Carmen, really? But I gotta say, they kind of killed it. The program was really fantastic. Their twist was such an issue last season that they were getting level 1s consistently, maybe a level 2 at best. They came out here and got a level 4 in the short program. I was like, okay. And their jumps were just right on the music. The side-by-side jumps were in sync. She looked like she was really loving this program. They got a personal best for them, almost 75 points in that short program, which was huge. And then in the long program, they did well also. They're skating to Papa Can You Hear Me by Barbara Streisand. So their long program that they did last year, they had done for 2 seasons. So sick of it. And then their short program last season was kind of like, eh. So then they brought back an old short program. So they just kind of felt like we had seen it, been there, done that. So it was so nice to see new programs from them. And they had a few ice dance elements in this program, which I saw that from a few other teams as well. And there were, of course, rumors coming into Worlds and out of Worlds going into the off season that they were going to enact some of these, some kind of an ice dance lift into the pair program, that they were going to cut out one of the lifts and do something different. Ultimately, they decided not to make any of those changes in the middle of an Olympic cycle, which I think was smart. But I do think that a lot of teams were already working on some of those things that they were rumored to potentially be adding. And I think that's why we're seeing so many elements of ice dance in some of the programs this season. So they have a few here and they're done really well. Their throws were just gorgeous in this long program. They're really the only issues here were with their side-by-side jumps, both with him. The triple toe, he fell out of it before he fully rotated it, so they only got credit for a double toe. And then on their side-by-side triple sow cows, he just kind of kicked his leg up after the fact. It was supposed to be a triple sow double axel. I don't know if it's supposed to be a 3-jump combination or not. He just didn't even leave the ground, but somehow they gave him credit for an axle, which is a half of a jump, not even a full revolution, a half revolution. But that saved them from getting a repetition violation for that. So, word to some of the other pair teams out there that we've talked about, where they haven't been able to get that second jump out, just kick your leg up and they'll call it an axle. They were actually second in the free behind the Hungarians. Even with the mistakes on the side by side jumps, I would have had them in first. Honestly, I just thought their quality was higher. But they were super stoked to get over 200 points and to get a win here. And I was stoked for them, frankly. Really well done. Second place here was Miura and Kihara of Japan. And they got a different look this year. They've gotten a little bit of criticism, the last year or so, because it's just kind of been the same kind of programs for them. It's very much rinse and repeat. And then last year they brought back an old program for Worlds also. I mean, they did it very well, but it's like, can we see something new? And so their short program is To Paint It Black, and it's choreographed by Shaylin Bourne, and their free skate is To Adios, the same music that Jason Brown used in his short program last season, and it's choreographed by Marie France. So they're definitely going out of the box for them here, and I am definitely here for it. So in the short program, it's just we're seeing more intensity from them than what we're used to seeing, which I don't think they're quite comfortable with it yet, but I'm confident that they can get there. They, to me, seem very far apart on their side-by-side jumps. She got the usual cue that she gets a lot of times on that triple toe. Looked to me like she touched down on that throw Lutz jump, but they got positive GOE, so okay. Only the Japan judge had them in first, though. Everybody else had them in second or third. In the free skate, I do like the music choice for them. It is different, but I do like it. I still see a lot of the very similar elements, that we normally see with them, but still, I think it's a step in the right direction. The triple toe, single axle, double axle combo was a bit of a mistake. It was supposed to be a triple toe, double axle, but she singled that first double axle, and he was kind of wonky on his triple sow, so they had issues in both of their side by side jump passes. They got into this beautiful position in their group 3 lift. I was really admiring the position, and then he just slipped and fell. And so that was a very scary moment. Luckily, Riku landed on her feet. They were able to finish, but afterwards, he looked like he was in a lot of pain. He was grimacing. He was putting his hands on his knees. The doctors did check on him. Bruno was very concerned, but it seemed like he was okay. Ultimately, that fall cost them about 6 points, including the fall deduction, and they only lost by 3 points. So that was definitely the difference between them winning and losing here. But they did do enough to hold on to the silver medal despite finishing third in the free skate. To the third place team, which was Maria Pavlova and Alexei Shevchenko of Hungary. So this is a team that I've said, people have got to watch this team because technically they are very strong and they continue to be very strong. The question coming into this season was, could they work on those program components, which is what kept them from taking that extra leap last year? They were so close. They were fourth at Worlds. They were fourth at Europeans. They medaled. Did they medal at? I think they medaled at Grand Prix final. I feel like they were third there. If not, they were just right there. Okay, I looked it up. They were fourth at Grand Prix final last year. So they were always just like on the cusp. And what killed them last season was that second mark. Technically, a lot of times they would be first, but it was a second mark. And so I was expecting them to come out and make some real improvements. And what do they do in the short program? They have the most puzzling music choice of the season so far to me, with a weird cover of Kiss and a cover of Sex Bomb. Like, I don't know. Do they think that this is going to take them to the next level? I don't get it. I don't get it. They look like they're having fun. So kudos for that. As always, technically super strong. Lift goes up great, looks easy. But I do not understand the music choice. It's just so weird to me. In the free skate, they're doing Pirates of the Caribbean, which, okay. And again, technically very strong. triple toe, double axle was landed. They were both shaky on a jump in that. So they got a little bit of negative GOE. That was the only element they got negative GOE in the whole thing. I feel like they can do a lot better than this, and they did enough to win the free skate. Not enough to move them all the way up to win, but they did move from fourth to get onto the podium. So forward on a lot of their throws. It didn't have a lot of GOE on several of their elements. So as usual, I mean, they're very close to 130 points, and they're probably good for about 130 points every single time that they go out. If they had done some of these elements here up to their quality that we know that they can do, they can score probably 135. I don't think they can get to 140 until they work on these skating skills, which to me, I haven't seen any real improvement in that area so far. We'll see, but yeah, don't love the programs, but as always, I am always super impressed with their technical ability. In fourth place here was Rebecca Gilardi and Filippo Ambrosini, and they are heavy, heavy on the war horses this season. So they're using Tango de Roxanne from Moulin Rouge in the short program and Phantom of the Opera in the free skate. So when I found out they were using Roxanne for their short program, I was actually really excited because I know people are like so sick of the music, but if you think about it, we've seen it used a lot in singles skating, and we've seen it a little bit in ice dance, but I can't, come up with a whole lot of pair teams that have used Roxanne, and definitely not really notable pairs. And I was excited for them because I know they would do it justice, and I think that they do it very well. Rebecca is so fiery in this number. There is a lot of difficulty in this program, like that entry into the throw. They have a lot of transitions, including a knee slide. She did put her hand down here. I thought they were, frankly, a little generous on the GOE on that. The entry into their lift, he starts on his shoulders. It looks kind of like a dance lift, and then he presses her into that group 3 lift. And the exit, he's swinging her around his body. It could be a little bit smoother on the exit, really, in both programs, but it's a really fantastic lift. The footwork is great. It's just high drama the whole time. They even got a personal best even with the touchdown. So, and they still got like a level 3 on their lift. So there's still room to improve. Even with the personal best, they're about 3 points behind what Conti and Mishi and Murray and Kihara were getting in PCS. It's probably fair. Part of that is reputation, and part of that is a little bit superior skating skills, but also just that it's also a little bit of that consistency mark, right? Even as much as Conti and Mishi have struggled, they have been oftentimes a bit more consistent, and they have a higher technical ability, especially when it comes to the side-by-side jumps. So they did go and do side-by-side double axles in the short program, which I think is the strategy for them. It's just the safer way to go. It's not worth going for the triple sow. It's just not that big of a difference in starting value. You're talking about 1 point in base value. And frankly, they can make that up in some of their other elements with the quality of it. In the free skate, to Phantom of the Opera, they do the triple twist like right on the music at the beginning. It's really nice. Nice footwork they have going into the double axle. They just did double sows here, so no attempt at the triple sow. She apparently has been working on the triple sow a lot in the off season, so hopefully at some point we will see the fruit of that. She turned out of the double axle here in the free skate. They just have this incredible choreographic sequence into the throw triple flip. Unfortunately, again, she put her hand down. I think that's something that they'll get eventually. I love that they have the throws at the end again. I've always loved that. I love that in their Barbara of Seville free skate that they did. I just think that it's so much more exciting. I mean, Deanne and Max kind of did that last year too, like having those really late throws. And two, I think it gives a little bit of space between some of the other technical elements that they have at the beginning of the program. And I like it when they're a little bit spaced out, and it's not just like all the technical stuff like right off the bat. They have very good lifts. Again, same thing that I said in the short program, could use a little bit more speed coming out of that last one. But it's really going to be the same song and dance with this team. They will go as far as Rebecca's jumps. And so we will see if that off-season work pays off at all. In fifth place here was Annika Hawk and Robert Kunkel of Germany. And they are repeating their short program to I Love Rock and Roll and Black Betty from last season. And frankly, you could have sort of run one of those short programs from last season here because she fell in the triple Salchow again, like she did pretty much all season up until Worlds. So kind of same, same song, different day for them in the rhythm dance. They do have a new free skate because the last one they'd used for 2 seasons. It's just, for me, this free skate feels very similar to their short program because it's another, like, it's got like a rock kind of feel. It's to Falco, who's an 80s German rocker. And so I don't know, they feel very similar. I can't say that I really understand the costumes. Like, he's in a tux and she's in a jumpsuit. She didn't attempt to do the triple Salchow here. She just did a double Salchow. They did a double axle, single axle, double axle combo that he stepped out of, very forward on a triple loop. So a lot of just little mistakes here and there. It's okay, the program is. I just don't think this is the program that's going to take them to the top. I could be wrong. But, and a lot of times at this point in the season, like, it's very common to be underwhelmed by a program. And then 2 competitions from now, that program look amazing. So we'll see. All right. Moving on from the pairs, let's talk about the women. And boy, was this a bit of a shocker. So, winner here was Amber Glenn. And I think it's pretty safe to say this was the best competition of her career. Amber is somebody who either goes out and skates lights out in the short program, falters in the long program, or vice versa. And so here she won both the short program and the free skate. Remember, she's coming in as national champion, and her total score here, which again, I know you can't compare, competition scores from different competitions and different seasons, but, this is sports talk, so that's what we do. So Isabeau, when she got a silver at Worlds just a few months ago, she got a 212.16. Amber here got a 212.89. So right there with what she needs to potentially medal at the world level, to push the skaters that have been ahead of her, to potentially defend her national title. So all the things went really well for here, and there's still room for improvement, especially in the free skates. Let's talk about the short program first, because big news here is that Amber and her team have decided to add that triple axel to the short program. And I think that's a good idea because I don't like, and I'll talk about this later when I talk about Rinko Watanabe, I don't like when people add the triple axel to the short program and it's not a consistent jump. And I've said on the podcast before that if you fully rotate the triple axel and you fall on it, it's not that big of a disruption to your tech score than a clean double axle is. Most people don't have a Cowrie +5 double axle. But if you under rotate it, then it's not worth it. So Amber is somebody who doesn't typically under rotate her triple axle, and it has been a pretty consistent jump for her. She landed it several times in competition last season. The issue for her was what happened after the fact, right? So they decided to throw it into the short program here, and it worked. She landed her triple flip, triple toe. That triple loop was right on the music. She is skating to This Time by Janet Jackson. It's another really strong short program for her. She got a 75, which was a personal best for her. In fact, she got a personal best at on everything. Short program, free skate, total. There was like the Italian judge here just wasn't really feeling Amber. He gave her a -2 on her triple axel, and I'm like, I'm sorry, did you see something literally nobody else saw? That was a little strange to me. And then in her free skate, she's skating to I Will Find You by Audio Machine and The Return by Clan. It's just really pretty music. It sort of has the feel of the beginning of Exogenesis #3 before the lyrics kind of kick in. Triple axle again, triple flip, triple toe. Then she doubled her sow. Then it's like, okay, is she going to come back? She came back and did triple loop, double axle. Then she stepped out of her triple flip, and then she landed a second triple loop. So a couple of things that she could clean up, but she did not have a fall. She did not have a major meltdown. She didn't have a meltdown at all. And she got 137 here with a couple of mistakes, which again, I've said on the podcast before, she can go 140. And frankly, looking at this, she might could go 145. I have no idea if they have any plans to try to add a second triple axel. I wouldn't do that right now. Like let's just work on the tech content we have and doing the tech content we have well. But that could be a strategy a season from now if she could have a successful season this year. I don't want to put the cart before the horse. This is one competition, but I think it's a really good step in the right direction because we just haven't seen Amber skate two programs of this quality at a competition. And so it's really, really encouraging. All right. And she gets a big win over Kaori Sakamoto as well, who we'll get to in a second. Second place here was Sarah Everhart of the US, and she's coming off of a first place finish at Cranberry Cup, where she beat Isabel Levito, who was third there. She, remember, is coached by Ilya Molinen's parents. She was fourth at Nationals. And like Ilya, she is using Shaylin Bourne as her choreographer. So in her short program, she is skating to Reel Around the Sun from Riverdance. I don't feel like her artistry is quite there yet. Her jumps definitely are. She got no calls. She got almost 70 points in her short program, which has been very hard for U.S. women to get in general. Her coach was stoked to see that score. And her spin and step sequence both got a level 3. So again, that just shows where there could be some improvements to get that score up a little bit higher. In her free skate, she's skating to Firebird, which I think is good, almost easy music to sort of plug in for people when they're sort of younger in their careers. It sort of gives them an easier character to sort of play. The music is always really great. She's really strong technically. I think she might even be better than the artistry that she's been giving here. I do think this program exposes some of her deficiencies artistically a little bit. Um, I just did a whole podcast on Michelle Kwan, and she, to me, had probably the best arm movements in between elements. And that's a place where Sarah would really benefit from maybe some ballet to sort of help with that. There's some parts of this program that feel a little bit rushed at places. She will be at Finlandia Trophy, which is now a Grand Prix event, so it's replacing ESPA. So she will be in the Grand Prix. She was, interestingly, this week passed over for a spot at Skate America. My guess is that the U.S. wants to spread out the love a little bit more as opposed to giving Sarah a second Grand Prix. They gave the spot to Ellie Lynn Gracie, who was second in Cranberry Cup, who was, pretty underwhelming at Four Continents, but perhaps she had a really good champs camp. So I understand the strategy, and obviously they made that decision right before Lombardia. But when you see her score over 200 points here, which has been another benchmark that's been very hard for U.S. ladies to get to, and you're thinking about the landscape of American ladies this season, I personally would have rather seen Sarah Everhart gotten a second Grand Prix, but it is what it is. But let's take a second before we jump to Kaori to just sort of talk about the American women this season, because they do have 3 spots again for Worlds, 4 home Worlds in Boston. And we've got our reigning national champion, Amber Glenn. We've got our reigning world silver medalist, Isabel Levito. We've got Alyssa Liu, who's coming back. She is a world bronze medalist. And we've got Brady Tennell coming back from injury. We've got Lindsay Thorngren to put in the mix, who was silver medalist at NHK last year. We've now got Sever Everhart that we can throw into this mix. We had Ava Marie Ziegler, who we thought was going to be in this mix. Unfortunately, she's having a procedure or had a procedure done for an injury that she had last season, and so she had to withdraw from the Grand Prix. So I think she's going to be a little bit behind the 8 ball coming into Nationals. If that's the first time we see her, perhaps she'll be able to do something like Golden Spin later in the season to get some programs out there, get it an international score out there. Otherwise, I think it might be difficult for her when you've got some of these other ladies who've got all of these other opportunities to show what they've got, and they're starting the season very well. Alyssa is, of course, going to be a huge wild card. She just had her first competition this past weekend, was, okay, not quite there technically, but because of her history, she's also a national champion. It's going to make for a very interesting nationals. So, and Sarah has just very much firmly planted herself into that conversation. All right, the third place here was Kaori Sakamoto of Japan. She is sporting new blonde hair. I think this is supposed to go with her Chicago free skate that she's doing this season. She's got long gloves in both programs. It's the same kind of style that she used in her free skate last year, which is fine, I guess. Her short program is to Resurrection the Angel, which is basically like a tango. It's well skated. I'm just kind of on the fence. I don't feel like I've really loved a Kaori program since she did The Matrix, like before COVID. I did like Elastic Heart that she did a couple seasons ago for her free skate, but I feel like all of her programs in this Olympic cycle have just been a little bit underwhelming. And so I'm not really sold on this tango either. But again, maybe in a couple months I'll change my mind. Her long program is to All That Jazz from Chicago. And, it was going pretty well. She did not do a triple triple here. She just doubled her triple flip, triple toe that she normally does. She also had two solo single double axles in there. I'm guessing that one of those double axles is either a placeholder or she intends to put a triple toe on the end of one of them at some point. I'm not completely sold on the program, but like I said, I'm going to reserve judgment from now. And she did fall on that triple loop late, and ultimately that threw her into fourth in the free skate and knocked her down to third place overall. I'm not worried about Kaori. I mean, she lost to Rinka Watanabe at Lombardia a couple of seasons ago. Like, she's not going to win everything. The girl has won 3 world champions in a row. Like, somebody's going to have to go and take it away from her at this point, right? So I'm not too concerned, especially someone like her has probably been touring half the summer and is probably going to bloom a little bit later in the season. So in fourth place here was Anastasia Gubanova of Georgia. And in the short program, she's skating to Money, Money, Money by ABBA. Again, I don't understand the music choice. Very provocative skating dress. It's like looks like a blazer basically with cutouts is how I would describe it, with some bling. Um, she did get 2 level 4 spins, which last season that was a real issue for her. Her step sequence, her spins is really what kept her from getting a higher score in the short program. She was still 9th in spins, though, out of all of the ladies here. So it's still a place to work, but I can see some improvement, and the judges can too. She also didn't get any calls, and that's also a place that she really struggled with last year, getting cue calls, under calls, and so that was really big for her. Girlfriend just can't get a 70. She got like 69 again, but she's close. In her free skate, I thought this was a much more successful program. Um, her triple loop just kind of went awry, and you could sort of see it happening. It was almost kind of like a Karen Chin triple loop kind of moment. Like, you just knew it wasn't gonna go. And so she ended up doubling it, didn't get all the way around. But other than that, technically it was very good for her. Once again, she didn't get any calls. Difficulty isn't quite there, but she still got very close to 130 with the loop mistake. So it's like, girlfriend, the judges don't hate you. I know at times she feels like they don't like her, but they don't hate her. She got 3rd in PCS in the free, which I think is big for her, whereas she got 5th in the PCS in the free, which means they probably didn't like the program. I agree. They clearly prefer this style that she did here. I think overall she just needs to be more consistent. I think if she was more consistent, her scores would also be better. In 5th place here was Anna Pizzetta of Italy, and her short program was to the Firebird. She had huge triplets, but it's like she couldn't control it enough to do the triple toe, so she had like this messy double toe on the end. Thought this was another one, was a good music choice for her. Really strong spinner, like probably the best spinner in the competition, even though she was second to Kaori in terms of spin scores, but really impressive there. And she got a personal best in her short program. Her free skate was to Avatar, and she really literally went right after Rinka, who used Avatar in her short program last year. I didn't really like the cut of I See You. It was just kind of very abrupt, like switching at times when they don't use the full cut and they want to go to like a bigger piece of the music later on, and you could just hear it like it was cut by an amateur. She had dark tights to kind of go with her skating dress, so it looked kind of like a jumpsuit, like all the way down to the gloves. It was just very Camila Valieva look for me. She doubled a couple of jumps and fell on her triple lutz. Her step sequences was very uninspired. She got a lot of love on social media, I guess because she was fifth, but I mean, she still only got like 105 points in her free skate. I've said so many times, like, Italy just needs a competent woman, somebody that can score like 120 points. So I don't know that Anna is it either. I, you know, I wasn't nearly as excited as everybody else was. And sixth place here was Seong Kim of Korea. So, okay, I guess we got to take a little sidebar here to talk about the Korean drama that has gone on. I'm not going to go into great detail about it. Most of you that follow skating in the off season have definitely heard about it. But currently, Young Yu and Hyen Lee, who were both at Worlds last season, have been suspended. So on June 21st, a Korean news outlet reported that they did not name names, but they said skaters A and B, female skaters, were suspended for drinking. And skater A had sexually assaulted a junior male skater C and had been suspended for 3 years. Skater B had taken sexually explicit photos of skater C. And so skater A was suspended for a year. So then Hyen Lee comes out and admits to being skater A, and I'm sorry, skater B was suspended for 1 year. So Hyen Lee comes out and admits to being skater A, which was interesting choice to do that. I think people were speculating who it could be based upon who was at this camp that all of this happened at. But even so, she came out with this long statement, and so she's appealed it. But right now, she has been suspended for 3 years. Young Yu was skater B, and she has been suspended for 1 year, which means that neither one of these ladies are going to be skating at least this year. For Hyen Lee, it could be even longer, if ever, if she decides to come back after that period of time, if that is upheld. So Korea has three spots to go to Worlds because Chaeyoung Kim was third and Hyen Lee was sixth at Worlds last year. So Chaeyoung Kim, and perhaps this opens the door back for Yellen Kim to get back into a spot, but there's going to be another open spot for a Korean skater. So that's going to be a storyline to look at. And so here is Seong Kim making her case to be potentially one of those ladies. So in the short program, she was skating to the City of Bones soundtrack. I thought it was a really nice program. She had a rough landing on her triple lutz and couldn't get her triple toe off, so she just put a double toe on the end of her triple flip, which is, is always smart. It helps you get a little bit more points, but obviously you're going to lose some points in the base value there. And did I miss her long program? I don't remember it, and I don't have any notes on it. Oh, geez. Okay. Well, I guess I'll have to talk about that another time. So moving on to a seventh place skater here was Zina Petrokina of Estonia. She was third at Skate America last year and fourth in her second Grand Prix. So she had a really great fall season. And then unfortunately, she broke her leg. She missed European. She did make it back for Worlds, but she was just 16th. So hoping to come back this season and find some of that success that she was able to find last fall. So in her short program, I think she has a really nice program. Love her skating dress. No triple combo for her, and so that put her behind the 8 ball with just a triple flip, triple double toe combo. In her free skate, she's skating to Dune. Spoiler alert, we're going to see a lot of Dune music this season. So this is the first that I've seen, first of many. So she popped a couple of jumps. She just had a single Lutz Euler double Salchow, and she just had a single axle double toe. So definitely cost her here. The music is cool. I think there's a good program in there. It's just a little raw at this point. In eighth place was Rinka Watanabe of Japan. And I think that if Amber is officially got the struggles behind her, then Rinka will become my new most frustrating skater because she is someone else who has all of the technical ability in the world. She's got very nice artistry. Girlfriend is so inconsistent. So in the short program, she's skating to Moonlight Sonata, goes for the triple axel per usual. It does not go well. She is an example of someone I don't stop doing the triple axel in this short program. It never goes well. If she lands a triple axel, it's in the free skate. And she's one who often will get an undercall with the fall, makes it not worth it. And the combo really hurt her here too. She did a triple flip, double toe, plus she got an edge call and a Q call on the flip. So you really want to get about 10 points or more on your combo jump. And she only ended up with 5.88. She also seemed like she was a little bit slow. I do think that this can be a really beautiful program if she does a double axel and gets a triple triple off. In the long program, she's doing some kind of a tango opera. The first half was just a total disaster. Pretty much, she started off with not one, but two triple axles, which is just bold or stupid. I mean, if we're being frank, it's the first one was just badly two-footed, under-rotated. She got a full downgrade, and she got negative GOE, so she got 1.65 points on that jump. The second one, she falls, also fully downgraded, and she gets a repetition violation because she repeated the jump and she didn't do it in a combo. So guess what she got for that? 0.66. So two jumps, she got a total of basically 2.3 points. That's not going to get it done. It's just not going to get it done. I do not understand why they're doing two triple axles when she can't land one consistently. It makes no sense to me. But, I guess maybe that's what challengers for. Throw everything out there and see if it sticks, and when it doesn't, hopefully they'll make adjustments when they get to the Grand Prix. She again did a triple flip, double toe. She did a single Lutz. The second triple Lutz was poorly landed and under rotated, and both Lutzes has been an issue for her in the past. Even when she had that season a couple seasons ago when she was doing really well, usually it would be the second triple Lutz that would trip her up and throw her off, and she would have a mistake on it. She does land the double axel Euler triple Salchow and the triple loop later in the program, and she finishes it really strong, and then you're reminded of what she can be. What I found interesting here at this competition was she normally does a triple loop, triple toe as her combo. She has done a triple Lutz, triple toe, but not as often. But we haven't seen her do triple flip, triple toe. So I don't really know what the strategy was, if she was intending to do a triple flip, triple toe here and just doubled both of those, why they've changed, if there's an injury or something, because the triple loops that she did solo were beautiful. So it was just strange to me. Again, I feel like it's a strategy to try to get more points. And frankly, consistency wins the day. Like, triple flip, triple toes are great in theory, but if you don't land them, like, what's the point? So it's just super frustrating. It was just 2 years ago that she actually won this competition. And here she was eighth and just at times seems so far away from that person. And then you have a moment like she did at Four Continents this past year when she almost wins the whole thing. And so she's so puzzling to me right now. All right. The last person I'm going to talk about was Laura Naki Gutmann of Italy. And she's got two new programs this season. The last couple of years, she's had like the Hitchcock program, and her short program I liked a lot last season. Her short program is music from Squid Game, which her skating dress is very interesting, but it does look kind of like a squid maybe. So she steps out of her triple toe, which was a problem because that's her normal combo is a triple toe, triple toe. When she steps out of the first one and doesn't get a combo off, and she got an undercall, so it's very costly. So she ended up with 1.68 points on that element. She did tack a double toe onto the triple Lutz that she did later in the program, so she actually got pretty decent score on that. She really kind of leans into the quirkiness in this program, which I do like. In the free skate, she's skating to Nocturnal Animals, which is the same music that Cam and O'Shea used last season in their free skate. The first half of this program I thought was really quite nice, but I thought it fell off in the second half. With she had two falls. I thought the artistry also just dropped off. I'm always rooting for her because I always really like her programs, but every when she comes out and she's the second Italian lady at a competition, it's never really a good thing if she wants to be, their one representative. All right. Moving on to the final competition, and that was the men. And boy, talk about a stacked field. Ilya Malinin, Yuma Kageyama, Shun Sato, Cal Mura, all in the same challenger is wild. I can't believe that Japan sent, basically their three top men right now because Shoma Uno retired in the off season. And so Yumo was at Worlds last year. Cal was at Worlds last year. Shun has always been just like right on the cusp. And so now maybe that spot opens up for him to finally be in the top three. We shall see. But the winner here was reigning world champion Ilya Malinin. In his short program, he is using music running from NF. I remember him using NF for an exhibition back at the 2020 Skate America. It was like this, it was called When I Grew Up. And it was like this, he really had his coming out party at that free skate at Skate America. And I remember watching that, and Tara Lipinski was doing commentary, and she was like, "Hey, I'm kind of digging this. It was just very different. You don't typically see exhibition programs to rap. And so we definitely don't typically see a lot of regular routines to rap, right? So it's very interesting. He was using this music back in the summer for some shows. So I don't know if they decided to use it based upon that, or if they knew they were going to use this music and he was just sort of also using it for shows. But jumps here were very good. He added the quad flip back, and he has said before to the press anyway that the quad flip is the hardest of the quad jumps for him. And so he did it in both programs here and did it very well. Did a triple axel and did 4 quad lutz triple toe in the second half of the program. Footwork is just really, really great with the rap music that comes in. The ending sequence is really great. It's just a overall really strong program. He got a personal best here, 107 points. And just as comparison, Yuma's personal best from the Olympics back in 2022 was 108. So it sort of gives you, what their sort of ceilings are. And not by any means that 107 is Elia's ceiling, because we know he can do a quad axel and that number could go up. In the free skate, he's skating to "I'm Not a Vampire" by Falling in Reverse. He's really committed to it, right down to the costume. He's got blood stains on his right sleeve. I'm not sure you would know that it's a song about vampires by the lyrics. I think the program is interesting. He dies on the ice at the end. Technically speaking, he does a 4 quads in this program. He stepped out of his quad lutz, but everything else was clean. Nothing too crazy. He did a triple lutz Euler triple sow, which at Worlds last season he was doing a quad lutz Euler triple flip. He did a triple flip triple axel here, and at Worlds he did a triple lutz triple axel. And I just say that because we know that he can go nuts if he needs to. Usually at this point in the season, he usually doesn't quite bring out the crazy stuff until maybe like Grand Prix final. So he still got an Unreal Tech score of 113, a ways off from the 137 he got at Worlds, but and it was enough to win here. So, but it had me thinking a little bit, because you see a lot of top men that are not Ilya doing like a triple axel, double axel combo, which is a great scoring element. But if they could pull off something like a triple flip, triple axel, or, triple lutz, triple axel, like Ilya is able to do, it would give them even a bigger amount of scoring potential to put a triple axel in a combo like he did. I have no idea if anybody can do that other than Ilya, but that might be something that some people could look at as they're trying to come up with creative ways to sort of compete technically with Ilya. So in second place here was Yuma Kageyama. Both of his programs are choreographed by Lori Nickel. His short program is to Sound of Silence, but it's a different cover of Sound of Silence than the Disturbed cover that we normally hear. It is a really good program. He turned out of his trademark quad Salchow. The other jumps were great. So he was second in PCS to Ilya in both programs. which has incited quite the debate amongst the skating community as to whether or not they agree with that. I definitely don't agree with it in the short program. I definitely would have had Yuma in first in the short. I I love the fact that Elia has worked on the artistry. I still don't think it's where Yuma is, but he definitely has worked on it. I mean, and he's kind of in a situation now, kind of like Nathan was. Like Nathan, got the jumps before he got the artistry to go with it, and you were like, if he ever gets the artistry, like he's going to be really, really hard to beat. And so Elia has made tremendous strides in that department, and he is going to be really hard to beat. I think Adam probably has maybe the best chance to beat him just because he's got a bunch of quads now, little obviously less consistent than Elia, but he also has a very, very strong artistic ability. I think Yuma can do it too. They're just going to have to get a little bit more creative with the technical part of it. And he wasn't at his technical best here, and it's September, and that's okay. His long program is to Amesca by the Talby Brothers and Romanza. It's kind of like a Spanish style music. Not every landing was perfect. He almost put his hand down on his quad flip. He stepped out of his second quad toe, and he had a wonky landing on his second triple axel. So this program is about where I would expect it to be at this point in the season. Like it's not quite there. It's got room to grow, and that's again perfectly fine. You're looking to peak in March. We're months away from that right now. What I don't want to happen is for us to get into this like Nathan Chin, Yuzuru Hanyu debate where people feel like they've got to be on one camp or the other. And it's like this vicious, like, no, he's better. No, he's better. Like, can we just appreciate that both skaters are very good and they have a lot of amazing qualities and we don't have to feel like we've got to pick a side all the time? So I'm just going to say that from some of the cattiness that was kind of in social media over the weekend about these two programs and whether or not somebody should have won this or that. It's September. Like it's very, very interesting to have them go head to head at this point in the competition, but it might look very different months from now at a potential Grand Prix final. All right. Third place here was Shun Santo of Japan. And really good programs last year, I thought that he had, and I think that the two that he has this year are also very strong. I think that these style of programs suit him so much better than like the Phantom of the Opera and what he was trying to do a few seasons ago. His programs are choreographed by Guillermo Cicerone. He also choreographed the Four Seasons, which I thought was so effective for him last year. His short program is to Ladies in Lavender by Joshua Bell. Jumps are so strong. Couple of nitpicky things, a Q on the quad lutz and a V on his last spin. And those two things kept him from getting over 100, but very strong. And then in the free skate, he has piano music at the beginning that's just very nice. It kind of eases him into the program. He popped his quad flip into a double, but everything else was just really well done. He had 3 quads and both of his triple axles were in combo. So I think he's off to a really, really great start to his season. And he got a big win over his Japanese teammate Cal Mura, who was 4th here. His short program is to Conquest of Spaces by Woodkid. Frankly, I have no idea how he landed the quad sal. It was leaning so much in the air. Then he does a great triple axle, and then the combo just does not happen. It's supposed to be a quad toe, triple toe. Instead, he popped it to a double, and then they downgraded the triple toe. So essentially, he ends up with a double toe, which cost him about 16 points. Okay, so now he was almost 50 points behind Shun at the end of the day. So this would not have put him ahead of Shun at the end of the competition, but it would have put him ahead of him in the short program for sure. In the free skate, he's skating to Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which is such an interesting choice for him. I kind of like it because I think it sort of helps to harness the chaos a little bit because when he uses this big bombastic kind of pieces of music, I think this sort of leans more into that Beauty and the Beast style that he did a couple of seasons ago. Lots of doubles. Lots of doubles. So he had no negative GOE, but he did like a double Salchow double toe. He did a single Lutz, double axle. He did the single Lutz, from my understanding, I think was supposed to be a quad Lutz, which would be new. I know he was working on a quad flip last season, but we never saw it. The quad loop was very, yeah, I don't think he landed it cleanly in competition at all last season. So he's still got some work to do to really refine and get consistency on those quads. Like, he needs to really be able to compete, because I would love to see him skate cleanly and really see where he's at. And I feel like he's always making mistakes, and we can't ever really get a good gauge of where he's at versus Yuma or Ilya. You know, come on, man, get it together. All right, in fifth place here was Nika Agazzi of Georgia. And he was actually second at this event last year. He had really had a good challenger season. He was, second at Nepola and second at another challenger. He was fourth in both of his Grand Prix, and then he just kind of fizzled out by the time we got to Europeans and Worlds. So his short program is to L'Enfer by Stromae, which is the same music that Andrew Torgashev used in his short program last year, which makes me raise my eyebrows. It's definitely not as effective for Nika here. His arm flailing combined with a ya just makes it kind of annoying, frankly. The quad Salchow was not pretty, but he got it done. Was not as fortunate on the quad toe, had a bad lean and stepped out on it. Did think his triple axel was very nice. His step sequence was just a bit out of control. Didn't get a lot of GOE on that. And just as a measure, he was 10 points behind Shunsato in PCS and 5 points behind Kalmura. So, kind of like I said with the Hungarian pair team, don't feel like I've seen a lot of development in that area over the off season. And then in his free skate, he did a quad Lutz, which I'm pretty sure that's new for him. Then he does a quad toe, and I'm like, okay. And then the wheels started coming off. So just bad landings. He fell at some point on what looked like a flying camel, but it came after a spread eagle. So the judges gave him a fall on his choreo sequence. So just not as successful in the free skate. And so it kind of felt like it was a lot of what we saw towards the end of last season and not what we saw at the beginning of last season. Maybe he'll flip flop this year and end on a high note. We'll see. In sixth place was Jimmy Ma. And, Jimmy you never know what you're going to get with Jimmy. So he ends up seventh after the short program and then fifth in the free skate to finish sixth overall. His short program is just kind of some flamenco kind of style music. Steps out of his quad Salchow, turns out of his triple axel, had a rough landing on his triple Lutz, and just did a double toe. So the program itself was a lot of fun because Jimmy is a great performer. The step sequence is just like starts out as kind of a real banger, and then it kind of slows down, then it kind of speeds up again. I would like to see him maintain the speed throughout. Maybe that's what he's supposed to do. Love the final sit spin that he does. So the rest of the elements were there, even if the jumps were. In the free skate, he's using La Terre du Ciel, which has basically increased in popularity these last couple of years. I mean, it was used by Savchenko and Michaud in the 2018 Olympics, and I don't feel like we heard it much after that, but in the last couple of seasons, it's really increased in popularity. There's a junior pair team maybe that's using it this year. There's a junior team that's using it. And so anyway, it was a pretty good jumping day for him. He did 2 quad toes. He only stepped out of his second triple axel. The first one was done in combination with a triple Salchow. So he had a little issue on his camel spin. I'm not really sure what went awry exactly, but it was a little slow. And you could see him smiling coming out of it like something didn't go right. I'm guessing maybe he missed a position since he just got a level 2. But again, Jimmy's another skater. I'd love to see him put it all together. He keeps getting international opportunities because there just are not enough American men who are taking that spot away from him. So at least we continue to be entertained. And the last skater I'm going to talk about was Alexander Salevko, who is the reigning silver medalist from Europeans, who had an up and down challenger season this year and is starting the season a bit down, and with a 9th place finish for him here. His short program was kind of some bluesy kind of music. He almost landed the quad toe, but he kind of slipped off his edge and then fell on it. He put a hand down on his triple axel. And then on his triple Lutz, triple toe combination, he fell on his triple toe. So kind of like Jimmy, just, rough on every single jumping pass. Everything else though was top notch. Like he got level 4s on his step sequences and all on his step sequence and all of his spins. The step sequence into a hydro blade to me was just like the real highlight. I just thought he had a great level of performance, kind of like Jimmy, even despite the mistakes. In the free skate, he's doing a tango, which he's using like Por Una Cabinza is one of the tangos that he's using, which is very famous. The tango music from True Lies and also from Sin of a Woman. And he's also using like an instrumental version of Tango Roxanne. I just feel like he's better than this. It just feels a bit cliche to me. He just had one fall here on the triple axel, but several costly pops and double jumps that really cost him. In fact, it started with the pop quad, so it just kind of went awry from the get go. Maybe this is a program that will grow on me, but I was really underwhelmed because he had two really strong programs last season. All right. So that completes my coverage of all 4 disciplines at Lombardia. This coming weekend, we've got Nebelhorn and we've got another really fantastic field. So let me just kind of run through some of the challengers that are going to be here this weekend. In dance, we've got the Tashlers. We've got Olivia Smart and Tim Deek. We've got Fear and Gibson. Can't wait to see their programs this season. We've got Carrera and Ponomarenko, who are coming off of a really great season for them, and they'll be going against their American teammates, Emily Zingas and Vadim Kolesnik, who I've seen little clips here and there on social media, and they look really good. So very interested to see what they look like. In the pairs, we've got the debut of Deanna Stellato Dudek and Maxime Deschamps, reigning world champions. Very excited to see what their programs look like, and they'll be going against Hossi and Volodin of Germany, who were super strong out of the gate last season, world bronze medalist. And we've got 2 American teams. We've got the international debut of Alicia Efimova and Misha Mitrofanov, who probably should have won nationals last season, but were second against the pair that did win nationals, and Ellie Cam and Danny O'Shea. I heard they're using Rain in My Black Eyes for one of their pieces this season. And of course, the big question is, can she land a throw? And then in the women's field, we've got Mona Chiba, Hana Yoshida, Livia Kaiser, Kimmy Rapond, Isabella Vito, and Elise Lynn Gracie all competing. And then for the men, we'll see Wesley Chu, Roman Sadovsky, Gabrielle Frangipani, Sota Yamamoto, Junwan Cha, Denis Vasiliev, and from the U.S., Maxim Nomoff and Andrew Torgashev. So again, another big stacked field, a lot of skating to watch this weekend. All right. As always, thank you guys so much for listening to the podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or another podcatcher, thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, you can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. I'll be back in a day or two with coverage from JGP Thailand over the weekend, because I'm also covering Junior Grand Prix this season as well, which if you are enjoying that coverage, please let me know. It's a lot of skating that I'm watching, but I'm enjoying all of it as usual. Hope you have a good rest of your week, and I'll talk to you again soon.